Sorry, I need to do my be real before we start, guys. Dead children. Beings that abduct children. The literal god of death. And straight up stalkers. This video is getting demonetized. Would you be surprised if I was talking about the fictional universe of Pokemon? No? Well, you're one of the informed ones. This fictional universe is very interesting indeed. Despite being labeled as cute and light-hearted, the description given to these beings by the games and the shows themselves paint a much different story. Today we are running a social experiment, you could say. The world of Pokemon is split up into different regions, which are loosely based off real-life places. These regions all have specific Pokemon that are native to said regions, all with different world-ending abilities. So this got me thinking, which country would be the last man standing in World War III? Because why would you not want to know the answer to that? Let's find out, shall we? Firstly, this is part one, so let's divide up the world real quick. For the purposes of this war, each country will be fighting in a free-for-all fight to the death. There is no alliances and there is no Geneva Convention, just how we like it. We will also be ignoring legendary and mythical Pokemon because that's kind of just like introducing nuclear warfare. There's no winners in that scenario, I'm afraid. Plus, how do we know that a literal dragon is going to be patriotic to the country of Japan? Not realistic. Speaking of Japan, there is multiple regions set in and around it. So for the purposes of these videos, we're just going to keep it separate and they will all fight off against each other. If we combine them all, Japan just win. And I need to keep it exciting, you know, viewer retention is a very important statistic. Don't worry as well, I am also aware multiple Pokemon show up in multiple different regions, so to kind of mitigate this factor, I'm going to be excluding the DLC, excluding any of the national dexes in games. It's kind of just like two countries having the same troops, which is fine because there will be some crossover, but we want to kind of minimize that as much as possible. Finally, we will be going in order of generation 1 through to generation 9, and I'll lay out all the information at the end of the video so you can make a conclusion for yourself. If mine isn't good enough for you, which it should be, I've been playing these games since I was like age 4, I know what I'm talking about. But now we've got this all set up, let's start looking at the competitors. Obviously, starting with generation 1, the Kanto region. Funnily enough, this is set in the Kanto region of Japan, which does exist. I didn't know that. This roughly translates to region east of the barrier, which geographically speaking is the region east of the Hakone checkpoint, also including some areas of central Japan. This region is rife with bugs, and that doesn't sound very threatening, and to be honest, you're partly right. Caterpie, for example. For protection, it releases a horrible stench from the antenna on its head to drive away enemies. It's a stink bug, so theoretically speaking, they could just drop bombs of stink bugs on people, but I'm not gonna lie, it's not the best use of chemical warfare. However, let's say Japan get their act together. They go out and they train up a lot of male Caterpie, which are extremely popular in the region, extremely easy to catch, and also it would kind of increase the gender gap, which is really accurate to real life. They then have lots of the final evolution of Caterpie, Butterfree, a cute butterfly. I've used quotation marks for a very specific reason there. In battle, it flaps its wings at great speed to release highly toxic dust into the air. Now that is chemical warfare. If they release squadrons of thousands of toxic carbon monoxide releasing butterflies onto their enemies, we're getting somewhere. For the sake of argument, this could be any toxic gas whatsoever. The Pokédex doesn't really state. However, we're going to say carbon monoxide because that is bad. Very different from carbon dioxide because it's missing one of its oxygen bonds. This gas is completely invisible, completely odorless, and impossible to pick up without the right equipment. As you will know, your red blood cells take oxygen around your body to different vital organs in order for you to live. Now, what you won't know, probably, is that these red blood cells take in carbon monoxide much faster than they do oxygen. In fact, it has a 210 times affinity to hemoglobin that oxygen does. In other words, oxygen gets completely pushed to the side when carbon monoxide is introduced because it has a really big VIP pass. To scientifically generalize, this is because the carboxyhemoglobin bond is a lot stronger in relation to the oxygenated hemoglobin bond. I don't know if you understand that. I don't really either. Oxygen is a weak ligand, which is basically an ion or a molecule that's attached itself to a metal atom. On the flip side, carbon monoxide is a very good ligand. I once again contacted my science support man, PhD Jack Redacted, and he is still very smart. Here's some more science stuff for anyone who's interested. I don't particularly understand it too well, but I don't go to university, so there you are. When you inhale too much of the stuff, your oxygen supply gets completely cut off and you suffocate within minutes. The real threat presented here, in my opinion, is the sheer capacity at which this could be produced. Caterpie is the most common bug in the entirety of the region, so this could be like mass manipulated. They could just bomb countries with thousands of these bugs, or in theory, they could harvest a lot of the gas they produce and then use it as a weapon in and of itself. It would be great for defense, it would be great for offense, it's extremely stealthy, and it's extremely deadly. It's not looking good for the rest of the country. And guess what? It gets worse. Another common Pokemon in the region and the earlier routes is Pidgey. Kicks sand when it gets scared. Boring. However, the final evolution, Pidgeot, flies at Mach 2. That's 2 times the speed of sound. That is equivalent to 1,534 miles an hour, or just about 250 miles an hour, slower than a 9mm round. Oh, but it's slower than a bullet, so why does it even matter? Does your 9mm round weigh 40 kilograms, is 1.5 meters tall, can cruise at 3,300 feet, still spot prey, and produce a wind speed by flapping its wings that bends trees? No. I've done a quick calculation to try and find out how much energy that this bird would have to produce in order to reach that speed, so we'll look at this notepad here. We've used the equation for kinetic energy, which is half of the mass multiplied by the velocity squared, but just for reference, firstly, a 9mm round can have a maximum of about 650 joules, and that's if the bullet is at its max weight, alright? That is the maximum amount of energy it can produce. If we plug in the dimensions of this absolute hunk, and I'm going to have to read this off of here, it's a big number. Pidgeot's wings, a biological creature, can produce 9,242,271 joules. Who are you arguing against here? That is 14,299 times more energy than a handgun produces, and that is a bird. If you are hit by this, you aren't falling over dramatically like being hit by a bullet. You are being pasted all over the pavement. There is no surviving that. So not only does Japan have chemical weapons at their disposal, but they also, theoretically, have suicidal birds that travel at twice the speed of sound to dive bomb a population. And again, this is one of the most common Pokemon in the entire region. They could produce hundreds of thousands if they really tried. It's scary. It's scary. I think it's time, however, that we look at the big boys of this region. These are the Pokemon everybody had in their teams in the game because they were just that good, or they were just cool. Arcanine is a dog based off of Chinese mythology set in a Japanese region. Nice lore, Pokemon. This fleet-footed Pokemon is said to run over 6,200 miles in a single day and night. Now, that might not seem like a lot, but that's around equivalent to 10 million meters in 24 hours. As you will know, speed is equal to the distance traveled divided by the time it takes to travel it. So if Arcanine was running at a constant speed throughout those entirety of the 24 hours, he would be going around 115 meters a second, or 257 miles an hour. This dog can run from the furthest east point of Russia all the way through Europe to the west coast of France in 24 hours without stopping. Here's my thoughts of how this could be utilized though, right? Mounts. Picture this. You've got all of the human soldiers, which we're presuming we still use, but at this point, I'm not too sure when you have fucking dinosaurs. You could take an entire army from anywhere on the globe to anywhere else on the globe in less than 24 hours and just absolutely wreak havoc with a fire-breathing dog. Sorry, I didn't even mention he breathes fire. That's great. Moving on, we go to Rhydon. Protected by an armor-like hide, it is capable of living in molten lava at 3,600 degrees Fahrenheit, and for normal people, that's just shy of around 2,000 degrees Celsius. That's a seriously hot bath. In my opinion, this would be a great accompaniment to the Arcanine rush strategy. You get the Arcanine to circle an area with scorching hot flames and just run around it, and then anyone who tries to get out, if they don't get burned, gets trampled by a 150 kilogram dog at 2 meters tall. They're not surviving that. Then to take out the people inside, you airdrop in Rhydon, who can survive the heat just fine. It's just like a nice summer day for them, basically. And then they take out all of the infrastructure. And I quote, Rhydon's horn can crush even uncut diamonds. One sweeping blow of its tail can topple a building. These things aren't to be fucked with. To crush an uncut diamond, you will need to exert a force of 1,492 pounds or 677 kilograms. Rhydon do that with their head. That's a seriously strong neck. But of course, this video would not be complete without talking about the pseudo-legendary of the entire region itself, the man, the myth, the legend, Dragonite. And I quote, Dragonite is capable of circling the globe in just 16 hours. What a casual way of saying this thing could end the entirety of life on the planet. It's also said that its intelligence matches that of humans. Basically, if Albert Einstein became a god. The circumference of the Earth is 40,075 kilometers, but obviously Dragonite flying isn't going to be flying with its stomach just scraping off the ground. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that he's flying very, very close to the surface of the Earth. Again, speed is distance over time. So for Dragonite to go 40,075,000 meters in around 57,600 seconds, he would have to be traveling 695 meters a second, or 1,554 miles an hour. That's faster than the suicide bird. The only difference being that this thing weighs 210 kilograms. That's almost 5 times as heavy as Pidgeot, or, for example, a red deer. That, I don't think you quite understand how genuinely unfathomable that is to the human brain. We cannot comprehend the amount of damage this thing would do. Just flying at that speed would probably burst the entirety of the world's eardrums. And he can fucking kill things as well with its hands. This is just a few of the insanely powerful Pokédex entries that I've found in Generation 1. But now let's overview the entirety of Kanto's battle plan. Midnight strikes. They have an army of Butterfree that they stealthily fly in over opposition territory and gas everyone in there using carbon monoxide. They then mask up some Arcanine and get them to create a ring of fire around the area, trapping any survivors and also keeping all reinforcements from entering the area. To protect the Arcanine, they have tens of thousands of suicidal Pidgeots that crash into all of the reinforcements, taking out any sort of armored vehicle or any other Pokemon, because I'm sorry, they're not surviving that. And then overseeing it all is a literal dragon that can shoot a hyper beam from its mouth, summon electricity, and generally just deal with any other threat that the teams have thrown their way. It's an insane move pool, insane coverage on it, and it's just unbeatable in this scenario. I just want to drop an honorable mention that I was going to include in this list. Gyarados, it's one of the first ones I looked at, but unfortunately it doesn't really have any statistics. It's just called the Deity of Destruction. So if you really want to throw that in, just put a death god, just a death god over everything. To be honest, I don't know if any other region is going to top this, but we will be finding out very soon, starting with Generation 2, Johto. However, that's going to be in the next video because this is going to be a series. So leave a like and subscribe. No, you're gonna have to stick around for the next video. Maybe won't be the next video I do, but I am going to continue this series all the way through to Generation 9, because at the end of it, I want to get it animated, right? I want an all-out war between every single faction and just to see who would come out on top. But that's going to be saved for the future. So, see you later.